Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It looks like we have sneak peek number 3 here. It's just an image this time, so it's going to be pretty short and sweet. But it says, "Greetings, agents. This is the same fragment with Marvel Future Fight. With the rise of Mephisto's fortress in Las Vegas, a resident superhero dons his SCARLET mask once again. Since our agents haven't gathered enough intel on this dangerous area, his reconnaissance will be invaluable." So it says, "Swinging through the Sin City. Hotel Inferno." I'll zoom in on this image a little bit more on the next slide here, but looks like there's going to be a webbed wonder joining the action against the forces of evil. Keep an eye out, agents. So if you've been following along the Damnation storyline, I did previously mention that Scarlet Spider does show up in this. He's tasked by Wong to kind of guard the entrance of it. But let's flip over to Twitter, see what they got, see if there's any more clues, if you guys haven't figured it out. It says, "Looking to forge his own path, this Scarlet Web Singer swings into Sin City for a new life adventure. In the 640 update, he may find that it's devilishly more than he expected." So we got this image, we got the spider web that looks really, really good, actually. Then we got a little notation right over here. Hotel Inferno, zoom in, it says this little Spider-Man logo, and it says "was here." It's kind of flipped upside down, but if you know this logo, you know that it's definitely Ben Reilly as the Scarlet Spider. So we'll kind of go, and how I know it's Ben Reilly versus other Scarlet Spiders that there's been before is more of because of the Hotel Inferno and the Damnation storyline. Before we get into that, though, I do want to talk about the two things before coming to this update you need to make sure that it's completed. Is this Transcendent character and character upgrades, Transcend potential and stuff like that. This is going away with this September update. I'm assuming this update's going to drop probably Monday or Tuesday night. So you got maybe a day and a half to kind of get this done. So whatever you're working on, the last little bit of it's got to get done before your the upgrade gear icon is probably going to go away from the store. Probably going to be useless, probably going to sell for the same amount of gold. So just make sure you get yours done. The other end I want to talk about is the September update preparation. It doesn't really give an indication of when it's going to start, but it's the same standard. Oh, it does actually give you a day of when it's starting. Okay, awesome. So it looks like to be in line with the update 9.8, so that's tomorrow. This is the standard event tokens. Usually you gather a bunch of these event tokens and you're able to use the biometrics to go toward the next character, one of the characters we've already seen. Hopefully it's a rework. We'll kind of touch on that, but we'll see what they bring. There's also an energy bonus, which is always nice, just free stuff. And then this, for the Alliance double donations, the only ones that I end up using is the boost points, the hidden tickets, and the level 4 uniform chips. The uniform upgrade kits are usually cheaper inside the support shop, so kind of do that. This, I always use this discount event to roll the stuff that I'm missing. So whatever it may be, or if you change your cards or something like that, re-roll, take advantage of something like that, because it's actually quite discounted. So makes things a little bit easier on that. But let's get back into the update here. Let's talk about the other kind of Scarlet Spiders that we're seeing first. So Ben Reilly is kind of first up. He is a clone of Peter Parker. It's made by the Jackal. His first appearance is in this comic itself back in November of 1994. See, they got that classic look. There's that spider icon that we're talking about. He's always got a utility belt, and his web shooters are a little bit larger. But here he's kind of dumping the other Spider-Man uniform. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be Ben Reilly. But we'll briefly touch on the couple of others that we have. Peter Parker does actually don this in the MCU. He does this kind of look. He has that homeless Spider-Man. That's a hobo spider that's already in the game. So whether or not this is going to be a new uniform or a new character, I would actually lean on the side of a new character for Marvel Future Fight. Simply because, yes, I know it's another character with spider powers, but simply because he's a different person entirely. He has a different duality. He's almost, a lot of times he's seen as a villain. He's always against Peter Parker, but he's also got a lot of chances to wear different uniforms that Peter Parker never dons. So we'll kind of get a little bit into that. But in Far From Home, Peter Parker has a look that's similar to this. The MCU kind of called it out, kind of used it there, but that uniform is already in game, so we're definitely going to get, I think, somebody new. I don't think we're going to get essentially other characters that would be more. There are a couple of times where they'll take a different person and they'll use that character as a uniform, but I think that's not going to be the case this time around. But kind of circling around back, the Jackal is the character that creates this this version of Ben Reilly. He kind of creates a clone for him. There are other clones that are made of Peter Parker's skill sets that the Jackal isn't responsible for. We'll talk about one of the others, but Joe Wade is also made of Peter Parker's DNA. He's a Scarlet Spider. He's the first to kind of have these has that cybernetic look, and then that spawns on the other Scarlet Spider team, which, as you can see, there's 3 of them here. This kind of leads on to Iron Spider later on. Those 2 are not relevant to Joe Wade, and this Scarlet Spider team are not relevant to the Damnation storyline at all. So that's why I think they're not going to be a part of this update whatsoever. Now, it may be a time where they'll get I don't think Joe Wade is ever going to be a character, but we may get this Iron Spider look as a part of that team, maybe. The other worth noting Peter Parker clone that was made by the Jackal is Kane Parker. Kane Parker is a little bit more, I would say, he definitely has a different look. He's a little bit more violent, I would say, and that's kind of his draw. Both him and Ben Reilly get pretty extensive storylines in the Venomized and the Clone Saga, so that's definitely worth noting that they may show up later on in game. We enter, a whole separate set of Spider-Verse. But let's kind of talk about where Ben Reilly is and how he relates into Damnation. Ben Reilly was originally set as a villain created by the Jackal to fight Peter Parker. He ends up being an ally, like an anti-hero. He does have a number of uniforms throughout his comic book history. A lot of the times, though, most notably is this red suit with the blue hoodie that he's kind of rocking. Here, he always, like I had mentioned before, he always has those prominent web shooters as well as the utility belt. Though he has the same abilities as Peter Parker, he's not all that experienced being Peter Parker. So he kind of is learning as he goes. To rewind the clock, during the Clone Saga, he does turn back to a villain. He dons the role of a Jackal, so you may get a uniform like that for some time down the line. Probably not here, but once he's defeated, though, he returns back to the mantle of Scarlet Spider. He picks up the suit again. He's died a number of times in the comic books. He keeps on. It's just one of those. That's one of his things. He's also, when you see him, he looks like Peter Parker, but he's severely scarred across his face. Which those scars get removed and brought back and removed. It's kind of a rubber banding kind of thing. But that's part of his look, is that he has a disfigured face. But kind of continuing on as it relates to Damnation and the Midnight Suns, Ben Reilly he actually lives in Las Vegas. And we talk about the update. They talked about a resident spider. So he actually lives in Las Vegas. He's just as smart as Peter Parker is. He's a carbon copy. He's a clear-cut clone of him. He works inside of a casino. He is working for a gentleman by the name of Cassandra Mercury, who owns the casino, owns the hotel, and he has almost an agreement to develop a cure in exchange for a lab and some resources inside of the hotel itself. Cassandra is trying to seek revenge for failing to cure Abigail's terminal disease. So that's something that Ben is constantly working on. He's trying to figure that out, right? Ben has a sense of duality. He's, you know, always wants to be a hero, but also has these tendencies to be a villain. So there's that sense of duality that's always kind of with him. In the Damnation storyline, he actually saves the Midnight Suns in their first go around by throwing a truck at the set of enemies that are running into him, and then he kind of suits up and he it'll be interesting if we get a look like this, but he's asked by Wong to guard the entrance of Hotel Inferno while the Midnight Suns are inside fighting the Avengers looking for Doctor Strange. He doesn't have that many pages in the Doctor Strange book, but it does have his own run in his own storyline. But while he is essentially standing guard at Hotel Inferno, standing at the front entrance here, he experiences sort of his own personal hell. He then has a meeting with Mephisto. Mephisto kind of talks about this duality of him wanting to be a villain, him wanting to also be a hero at the same time. Then he tries to make essentially a deal to save Abigail's life. Struggling with this, he ends up taking the deal and getting the cure, as so long as he will stop the Midnight Suns. So he returns back to the entrance. He actually runs afterwards. He actually runs into Kane Parker, one of the other ones that's standing outside the front entrance as well. Kane Parker they get into a deal, they get into a fight, and Kane Parker essentially sets them straight. So overall, I think most folks are excited about this idea of Ben Reilly coming to the game, but for me, it's both two sides, right? Like, it's great to see another Spider-Man, especially one that can clear some content in the game. They're not very good. But it's also not very interesting because it's another Spider character that has all of the same Spider abilities. So it's, what are we going to do different with this one? And down the line, if we get other uniforms, maybe that's cool. But at the end of the day, it's another Spider-Man with another Spider skills. I was actually hoping for something else, maybe a rework of some kind for another character that's needed some work. My faith in the list of reworks is fading, to say the least. So the hype train is a little bit slowed down on this one. But as we get more updates, we usually get 5. This is number 3, so we have 2 more. I'm still hoping for reworks to Moon Knight's possibly getting a new form. Elsa Bloodstone, she just needs to be, a user, but she just needs to be better in the game. I'm kind of narrowed my list down to hoping that we get Ghost Rider as a tier 3, and Blade is the one with the awakening skill, instead of Morbius. But I do want to hear what you guys think. Are you excited about another Spider ability? Are you having some trouble with clearing that Shadowland stage? I know Ben Reilly has a huge fan base, so I'm expecting a lot of folks to be happy about that. But I'm hoping to see, what leads. I'm hoping this leads into a Spider-Verse or even like a Venomized update, maybe as soon as Halloween. That would be awesome. But ultimately, we'll kind of have to see. So until we get the next update, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, be well, stay safe, do good, and I will see you guys soon.